Hello and welcome to this 261 Fearless Empowerment Talk. I'm your host, Juliet McGrattan from 261 Fearless, which is a global women's running network. We use running to unite and empower women all around the world. And we're really, truly passionate about improving the health and well-being of all women. But we do believe that education is key to empowerment. And we're really keen to use our global platform to bring you this series of empowerment talks. They're interviews with high profile, influential women in positions of leadership in the world of sport, business, health, and they inform and inspire us. And we want to share their wisdom and their expertise to help motivate you too. Now, today I'm really excited because I'm joined by Donna Deegan. Now, Donna has an amazing bio. She's an award-winning journalist, a philanthropist, and a marathon runner. And she's the founder of the Donna Foundation. Now, this is a non-profit that provides financial assistance and support to families living with breast cancer, and it funds also groundbreaking research in breast cancer. Now, she's a 3-time breast cancer survivor, and she founded this organization in 2003 following her second diagnosis of the disease. 5 years later, in 2008, she created 26.2 with Donna, the national marathon to finish breast cancer. And that's dedicated to breast cancer research and care. And it's now a signature event of the Donna Foundation, and it attracts thousands of runners and supporters from all 50 states in the US and more than 20 countries around the world. She's also the author of 2 memoirs, The Good Fight, which is a chronicle of her own breast cancer treatment and recovery, and Through Rose-Colored Glasses, a marathon from fear to love. And that's a book which encourages everybody with life-altering challenges to change their perspective from one of fear to one of love. She's a wife, a mother of 2, and she lives in Florida, and she's here. So, wow, Donna, you're amazing. Thank you so much for joining us.
Wow, that was a lot, Julia. Thank you for going through all that. I appreciate it. It makes me feel old, but happy to be here.
Oh, accomplished. I didn't want to miss anything out because I think it's all amazing and important and really relevant to what we're talking about today. And I'm just going to go and dive straight in if that's okay.
Sure.
So I mentioned a little bit about the Donna Foundation there, but I'm just wondering, in your own words, can you tell us why did you set it up and what its aim is?
Well, you know, I as you mentioned, I'm a journalist, and I spent 25 years as a local news anchor here in my community. And so when I was diagnosed, all 3 times, I did it, you know, with the audience right along with me. And so as I was diagnosed the second time, it was only 2 years after the first diagnosis, and I started hearing you know, from women who were saying, oh my gosh, I'm going through what you're going through. And I talked with my boss, and I said, look, you know, I don't want to do the chemo treatments and all that on the air this time. I said, I'm sure that people are just exhausted from that. What if I start a blog and connect with some of these people that I'm hearing from? And I just started hearing from more and more women who were saying, you know, I'm having to choose between putting food on the table for my kids and life-saving medicine or treatment. And I thought, well, that's just crazy. So I thought, why not use the megaphone that is attached to my mouth to try to do something good? And frankly, as I'm sure you know, whenever you can turn something outward from your own pain into something that may benefit somebody else, it takes away some of the fear and some of the frustration and all of that from your own situation. And so selfish in a way, but also just a love for my community. And so I thought, if we can do this, why not? And because I was a runner and everybody knew that was my thing, you know, I said, let's see if we can get people to run along with us and buy t-shirts that say I'm running with Donna and raise money to help underserved people. And that transitioned into just the most magical, really, truly, when I say magical, I say, I met Jeff Galloway, who you probably know is just an incredible marathon coach, has trained hundreds of thousands of people how to run a marathon. And ran into him one day at a running expo, and he said, hey, why don't we get a bunch of people together and run a marathon for your foundation? I said, great. How many would be good? And he said, well, if we could get 10, we could just train up 10 and see how much money we could raise. Well, we got almost 100 people that first year, and we raised $100,000. And I went, that's better than t-shirts. And that's really was the genesis of the marathon. I know you're a doctor. I had the most wonderful doctor who also happened to be my running partner. And she and I and Jeff sort of got together in a little triumvirate and said, how can we raise more money for research, more money for the underserved with the disease, and encourage people to exercise and get out there and move their bodies, which will make them healthier anyway. So found there was no marathon out there for breast cancer in particular, and said, why don't we start our own? And we did. And it's been almost 15 years now. We're coming up on our 15th year, and have raised millions, and have been just so grateful to be able to offer hope and healing for a lot of people. We have a lot of survivors that come out and run, just to let them see there is life, after cancer. And so I think in so many fronts, it's been a magical experience, and one that I hope has encouraged many, many more people, especially people who have been through cancer, to get out there and move their bodies.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, I'm from the UK, and we're fortunate we don't have those decisions about food on the table or pay for your treatment. So the work you've done is just so needed.
I live for the day, Juliet, that we have that here. Honestly, we had a wonderful couple, and I know their name is going to escape me now, who was from the UK that came and ran. Gosh, how can I not remember their names now off the top of my head? But they brought their daughter over for treatment in the US for a brain tumor. And we became fast friends while they were here. He actually, may have won the 10K. I can't remember, but he had a wonderful race. And he actually has something that he does over there for her. I should have brushed up on that. But anyway, the bottom line is they were so thrilled with their health system that they were actually able to bring her over, and it was at no cost to them to be able to bring her over here to get the treatment that she needed. And she's doing great. They're big runners, but they were such fans of the health system that you have. So I do wish we had a better health system here.
I mean, one of the things that I've certainly noticed with working with people who have cancer or have been given a diagnosis of cancer is that it's a time when they can become very disempowered, because everything's very medical and they have very little control. So how have you found that exercise can empower women who have a diagnosis of cancer?
Oh my gosh, in so many ways. What I tell women, first of all, is you got to get out of your own head. I mean, what a better way to get out of your own head than to go for a run. I can't think of any stressful situation that I've ever been through that hasn't been made better by running. But there have been studies that have shown, and I'm sure you've seen these, that even survivorship is improved by physical exercise, especially running. There's something about forward motion that helps our mental state. There have been all sorts of mental studies that have been done. So I think all of those things are empowering. I think if you can feel physically like you have your strength, because what happens when you go through chemo is, you lose your hair, you're sort of sapped of some of your energy. Look, some of us can't run while we're going through that experience, but we can move. And so what I tell folks is, even if you can just get out and, run for 30 seconds and walk for 30 seconds, run for 30 seconds and walk for 30 seconds, or just walk, get out and move yourself. It's going to empower you, because you're going to feel like you're getting from point A to point B. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. I guess you have to sort of adjust your goals from maybe your pre-diagnosis or pre-treatment goals, but it all still counts. It's still as much of a challenge for you, isn't it?
Well, I'll tell you this, when we ran the inaugural marathon, it was only 3 months before our inaugural marathon that I was diagnosed for the third time. And I actually had to get a section of my lung cut out and have more chemotherapy. And I had really motored down my expectations for the marathon, because it was only a few months away, and was going to have my anchor team relay most of it. I was going to do the first 6 and have them relay. Long story short, I'm standing at the start line with my doctor, and I said, you know what, I feel good. I think I might just go. And she said, I'll run with you. I can't think of anything better for your mental state or for your health to get out there and do this if you feel like doing it. We ran the whole 26 miles.
Wow.
And, but what I want you to understand about that is, that's also, I think that's also the benefit of having a doctor who believes in physical exercise and who believes in it. So I also think that's very important, to have a health team around you that really supports that sort of physical, not that she said I should do it, but just that she had no problem as long as I felt well. And and frankly, I felt doped up on joy the entire 26 miles, because it was just such a joyful experience. And I think, you talk about empowering women, you talk about, I just think being out in a community of love and support. That's why organized events too are just so wonderful when you can do them, just because it all helps. It makes you feel normal and not like you're that person in cancer treatment, if that makes any sense at all. That's how I felt that day, just very, very empowered and grateful that I was able to complete that race and be around so many other wonderful people.
Well, that's fantastic. I mean, in terms of the women that you help and the women that you help to get active, and you see them maybe even take their first steps during their treatment, what benefits do you see in those women?
Well, again, I mean, I would say I have seen some women who have started training with us who said, gosh, there's no way I'll ever be able to do that. And we bring people along so slowly. It really is, it truly is one step built on the next. And they see, not only in the community they're with, in that little training group, they see themselves getting stronger and other people getting stronger. And they look up and here they are 3 months down the road doing their very first 5K ever. And they can't believe, I mean, we've taken people right off the couch, right? Just have never run a step. And what I've seen in them is a blossoming in not only self-confidence, but in health, where they feel confident that they can do just about anything. And I think so much of when you're going through something like cancer is believing that you can make it, that you can get to the other side of it. And I think that running, what I've seen from the people we've trained is, wow, has it just changed their mentality and their physical health completely.
I guess they could maybe feel that their bodies let them down in some way when they're given that diagnosis, and perhaps the running helps them to realize that their body's still amazing and can do wonderful things.
Yes. I think, I don't think we can ever discount the mental part too. I just think so much of getting through a cancer regimen, because there's just so much involved in it, and sometimes it can be so long, is that whole mental cleansing that can take place when you're out there moving your body and you're with other people doing the same thing.
Yeah, the brain sort of processes, doesn't it? And I mean, I guess keeping it real, a woman who has cancer, it's not an easy time to exercise, is it? What are some of the biggest barriers that women face when they've got cancer and they want to exercise?
Well, certainly fatigue is one. I think there is, whether it's radiation or chemotherapy, those are things that really sap the energy. But I think what you would normally think, your intuition would say to you, well, if I'm tired, I shouldn't exercise, I should rest. And I think rest is listen, even for people who are healthy, right? I mean, rest is an incredibly important component of exercise. But I think what we've learned through studies, but also just through watching the people that have run with us year after year, even if they're going through treatment, that any movement at all is good movement. Whether that means that, again, you're just taking a walk around the block, it is healthy for you physically and mentally. But yeah, fatigue, I would say, is a big part of that. And of course, a lot of people don't feel very, very, very well in terms of their stomachs and their heads and the whole 9 yards. I mean, chemo is no walk in the park, that's for sure. But what I have learned is that the more I can move, the better that I feel. And I think that's the message I've heard from women by and large. But sure, there are barriers, and nobody should feel guilty for resting. That's for sure. They should rest when they need to rest. But I, like I said, again, I think it was really important for me to have a doctor who believed in that. Who realized that physical exercise was not going to hurt me. If I didn't feel well enough to do it, I didn't do it. But if I could get myself off the couch, even for a few minutes, that was helpful.
Yeah, picking up on what you said there about people, feeling fatigued and thinking, well, exercise might make me feel even more tired. I'm sure there are lots of things that women are worried about before they exercise when they've got cancer, as well as sort of fatigue and things, or maybe they're just nervous that it's not going to do them any good and that it's putting their body under more pressure. How do you reassure those women, or even their families, because it can often the families and carers who are thinking, well, you'd be better to rest and you shouldn't be pushing yourself. How do you reassure those women and their families?
Well, I point to so many studies that show that exercise actually is helpful for people with cancer. I mean, that is just irrefutable, really. I think that when people are in the midst of cancer, it's a whole different place than when you're on the other side of it, for sure. But I think that, again, study after study shows that physical exercise actually can help, not only the mental state that you have while you're going through cancer, but physically as well. As the stronger you can keep your body, the better. And a lot of times you don't feel like eating a whole lot of the same foods that you normally eat. Your taste changes, your energy changes. But what we do know is that will not hurt you to have physical exercise, unless, again, I don't want to mislead anybody. If you're in a situation where you just feel like you can't, then you should wait. But if you're simply in a mental state of, oh, I shouldn't, there's data that would argue with that.
Mm-hmm. And I guess, you're a 3-time breast cancer survivor. And do you think that exercise, it's helped you at those times of need, and it helps women when they're really going through that difficult patch? But how can being active in some form, whether it's running or other exercise, help women going forward in life beyond their treatment?
Well, all I can say is, for me, it's been a lifeline. I mean, I will say that when I had my very first chemotherapy, I had what they call the red devil, which is adriamycin and Cytoxan is what I had. And the adriamycin is this dark red chemo that you watch flow into you, and you immediately think, well, that must be awful, and it is. It is extremely fatiguing. And so with my first diagnosis, I really could do little more than walk, with just an occasional jog here and there. But it helped me so much in terms of my mental state. Because I tease that you get those looks, when you're going through chemo, because you don't have the hair or the eyebrows or the eyelashes or any of that stuff. And you get that, oh, thank God it's not me look, from people. They don't mean it. But yeah. you start to feel like, instead of, this is a product of the chemo that is helping me, you start to think of that as the cancer. And for me, every time I could get out and show myself that I could still move, not only did I feel better, but it made me realize I was still in there someplace. And so for me, I think running has been just a lifesaver. And I'll tell you, my last diagnosis was in 2007. That was the third diagnosis, and I've been extremely fortunate to be cancer-free since then. And I'm not saying that's the key, but I do think, in a couple of ways, both because it keeps me physically fit, but also because it keeps me from constantly looking over my shoulder. Does that make sense? If you're doing something proactive, you're not constantly sitting worrying about what's going to happen next year or what's going to happen. I think it's so important to live in the moment. And I know that sounds cliche, but there's nothing that will keep you more in the moment than running, because you have to watch those footfalls and where you are. And if you can actually take the time to be present in those runs, which I have just, like I said, for me, it is absolute spirituality to be out there running, distance especially, but any run is a good run. It helped me, and I know it's helped so many others get through to the other side of it. And then once you're healthy, it's just a great way to keep your body not only in shape, but mentally in shape as well.
And I guess it brings wonderful people into your life as well that stay with you through lifelong as well.
Well, I'll tell you, we one of the people that's been with us since year one, and I was introduced to Joan Benoit Samuelson by a dear friend who was helping us with the race. And we've become fast friends, and she comes down for the race every single year. And I still pinch myself that, you know, I'll say, that's Jumping with Samuelson in my living room. She's just a lovely person who loves to help others, but you're right. It brings so many people into your life, both well-known and not so well-known, that you never would have known before. And there's something very optimistic about runners. I think we have to be optimistic, right? Because we're always going for that next PR, and we rarely get there. So we have to be optimistic. But I think optimism is just a huge part of getting through any challenge in life, cancer included.
No, definitely. And yeah, and to make sure that all women can have this opportunity, you know, to experience how being active can really help them. What do you think needs to change? Because not all women everywhere have the support and even the opportunity to be active. What could be done to improve that, do you think?
Well, I think you're doing that. I think what you do is a really important thing, to connecting women from all over the place, to let them, you know, see what the global running community is like. I mean, it really is. It's a big family, but in some ways it's a small family too. So I think the more we share our stories with each other, the more we connect with each other, the more we share what we know, our experiences, all of that. I think it all helps. And I think one of the things that we realized very early on with the race is that we talked a lot about how much money we raised and how much went to research and how much went to the underserved. And we realized that equally as important as those things in what we do is in offering hope and healing to people. And I think the more that we can share with other women, that these are experiences that we can share and have together and empower each other, I think that's how we continue to grow the movement, and to make people healthier.
Fantastic. Keep going. And if there's a woman listening to this, maybe has a diagnosis of cancer and she wants to get active, where should she go? Where can she go for help?
Well, I will tell you that I'll just say from a running perspective, I don't know that you could find a training program if you really wanted to do a couch to 5K or just to get your body moving type of program better than Jeff Galloway's program. We partner with Jeff for the marathon. We actually have Galloway Pacers that are in our race that actually run. So for folks that don't know about that, and the reason I recommend it for cancer patients, really for anybody, or if Olympians or cancer patients, is it's a run walk ratio. So what Jeff does is he has you, he assesses your physical ability, or that's what the program does, and then creates a run walk ratio for you to build strength. And so some people run 15 seconds and walk 15 seconds. Some people run a minute and walk 30 seconds. Some people run, the ratios are different depending on your level of physical ability and your desire, frankly, with the whole goal being to strengthen and to give people the opportunity who want to complete a marathon, which you know is an enormous, it's just an enormous bit of accomplishment for anybody to be able to cross the finish line of a marathon. And I think I have watched so many people over the years who never ever thought before cancer or after that they would be able to do something like that. And now they're happily addicted to running. So I would say Jeff Galloway's program, we have a lot of that on our website. breastcancermarathon.com. We have a lot of information for people who want to get physically active or who might like to come and either train with us or run with us. But I would say find yourself any running group that is close to you. And there may be some that are combined with breast cancer groups. But at the end of the day, community helps. And if you can find a group of people that can be around you, that will help lift you on days when you're not feeling so much like doing it, and you can do the same for them, and you're getting stronger together, those are all things that I think are very helpful.
Yeah, I definitely second that. Well, thank you, Donna. I mean, that's a really kind of motivating and inspiring discussion about why being active with a cancer treatment and cancer diagnosis can really help empower and improve the survivorship of women, and how coming together and supporting women to be active during cancer diagnosis and treatment is so worthwhile. I'm really grateful to you for giving us that kind of insight and personal experience. And at 261 Fearless, you know, we wish you all the best for your future work, and you know, support you whenever we can. So thank you very, very much for talking to us.
Thank you, Juliet. I really enjoyed it, and I love to come over and visit at some point.
Oh, wonderful. Yes. We're all around the world, so you can pick your country. Thank you, Donna.